Hey everyone, this is Mark from Stocks and Cash. It's January 23rd, 2018, and I'm here to give you a market update. I'm going to go over my holdings and then give you a couple setups that I like. So to jump right in, we'll take a look at the SPY. Had kind of a small day today. Didn't really have a whole lot of action. Again, it's continuing in our uptrend. The Stokes are overbought, the RSI is overbought, but MACD is still bullish. If we take a look back in time, the MACD has not exceeded this level since November of 16. I think I pointed this out yesterday. So we're kind of in uncharted territory over the last 3 years with the MACD. Today's candle is kind of a spinning top-ish type candle. And as you can see from the action over the last few days, the candles kind of like to stay close to the 8 EMA. This blue line here, which let me get rid of my fibs for a second, and this trend line. So you can see they've kind of ridden this line up, and when they've gotten too far away, they've pulled back a little bit. Even in the past here, they like to stay close to that line when it's riding up. So now you see there's a little bit of space between today's candle and that 8 EMA, so I would not be surprised at all if over the next day or two we have a little pullback and test back down to that 8 EMA. Pretty similar story with the Qs, I believe. Had a little more of a bullish candle. It's not really a doji or a spinning top, but again, the indicators are very similar. Stochastics and RSI are overbought. The MACD is still bullish, and again, it's higher than it has been in the last 3 years over these last few days. So I do think a pullback would be healthy. It doesn't have to happen. We could still keep going higher, but you know, at some point I think we would come back and test this 8 EMA. You can see again there's a lot of space in between here, and since it's been on kind of this ascending pattern over the last few weeks, I think it's due for at least a little retest, whether it's just a one-day down candle like this, or if we have a couple of candles down. But I do think we're going to retest sometime soon. Checking out my holdings, so Apple kind of had an odd day today. I was up early and then we kind of closed flat. Disney didn't really do much. Walmart moved up a little bit. Citi didn't do a whole lot. eBay moved up and I ended up closing out my position. IWM, because the markets are starting to get very oversold, I closed one of my calls there just to lock in some profit. And then MACD had a nice recovery day. So in addition to those, I'll also take a look at FCX, Coors, BABA, Dunkin', and Tesla. So let's start with Apple. So as I was saying, Apple kind of started the day flat, had a nice bullish intraday pattern, and then kind of came back down and closed flat. Truly, I'm not liking this price action at all in Apple. Again, not to say that it can't go higher and we'll have a nice bounce tomorrow, but given the overall state of the market, I have a tight stop below the low of the candle on the 22nd from yesterday. So if the trade doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But it's kind of meandering. I'm not liking it, and it's better to get out of a trade you don't like and have a small loss than sit in something that could really reverse against you. So in my personal opinion, if we start moving below the low of this candle, I will have my stop set and it'll knock me out of this trade, and I'm okay with that. But hopefully it'll have an up day tomorrow. Finally, a nice bullish candle like we saw back last week, but not holding my breath on it. You can see the price action in Apple has been kind of wicky. You have a lot of days that are up and then we kind of pull back. So we'll see what happens with Apple. Again, my stop is tight from where we're at right now, so there's not a whole lot of room for error for me to stay in this trade. But we'll keep an eye on it. Citi had a dojis today. Again, that's kind of a bearish sentiment candle, or at least it can be. The MACD is up. RSI is starting to get into overbought territory. The Stokes are just getting into overbought territory. Really, this is more of an indecision type candle. It can represent a top, but without the follow-through pattern, you can't really tell what it is. We had a spinning top here, a bit of a down day, and then we moved on higher. So similar thing could happen with Citigroup. So I'm still holding these options, and I'm expecting to hit our target of 79.64 relatively soon. Disney, not really liking the price action on this either. We kind of had a spinning top, just kind of moving sideways. We've broken outside of our channel. So this trade is not really shaping up the way I was anticipating. All indicators are bearish, and I just think that with earnings coming up, I don't think I'll be holding on to Disney much longer. I'll probably drop out of that position relatively soon. My stop is at the low of the candle on the 10th. So probably going to be getting out of that trade relatively soon as well. Let's jump to Walmart. Had an okay day today. It's still kind of powering up. The MACD is up nicely. The stochastics are a bit overbought, as is RSI, but again, I think we have the opportunity to get up to our 108 level. It's only a couple dollars away. I only have one option contract, so my risk is low, and my stop is below the low of these three candles here, so I'm not really risking a whole lot. You can see that, like I was saying before, there's a gap between one of the candles and the AEMA. Walmart kind of closed that gap over the last few days and then had an up day. So again, that's why I say in the overall markets we'll probably have some kind of sideways to downward movements. Taking a look at McDonald's. Oops. Had a nice day. It was a decent bullish candle. Would have been nice if it closed a little higher, but still nonetheless it's a solid candle indicating that its trend is strong and should continue. MACD is up, RSI is up, so are the Stokes. So I'm definitely liking the McDonald's trade right now. The last of my holdings, IWM, had a decent day, kind of similar to that McDonald's candle. Not a whole lot to say on it. We're making our way up to our target of 162. I did trim a position here because I got in a little late on the trade. And with the overall markets, I know this is the small caps, and it does move differently from the S&P and the Dow. But again, low risk and high reward is what we're looking for here. So for me and my trading plan, I felt comfortable taking some profit here, and hopefully we'll move up to 162.09. Taking a look at some other stocks. Let's take a look at BABA. So I had looked at BABA a while back before I actually started doing videos. I had it on my blog. I think it was around here, and then we had this big candle, so I was looking at it but hadn't really considered getting back in. Well, today we had this nice big white candle, closed above our breakout level of 191.68, and I think this trade is good to go in terms of getting in on the 5-minute rule early in the morning. So again, after the first 5-minute candle forms, if we get another candle that closes above that first 5-minute candle, then it's the rule says to take the trade, and you can put your stop at the low of that first candle. It really depends on your trading plan and how you want to handle your risk, but that's a way to play Alibaba. First target is 191.14. Second target is 208.75. You can see the MACD crossed bullishly. The Stokes are now pointing upwards, and RSI is pointing up. So there's definitely room on the MACD to kind of cross and move up, and same for the Stokes. So I like the looks of this trade, and I'm going to see about getting into it tomorrow, depending on the price action in the morning. Taking a look at Dunkin' Donuts. This is another one we looked at earlier. I had looked at the bounce off of the 50% retracement on the fibs. I think I ended up getting out somewhere in here, maybe after this candle or this candle. I may have taken a loss. I truly don't remember. But the fact is, we had our eye on it. Today we had a nice strong candle similar to BABA. You can see the Stokes are in a very nice pattern. MACD is about to cross over bullishly, and the RSI is pointing up. So this is another trade I really like. And again, I would just get in based on the 5-minute rule. Oops, sorry about that. So first target would be $68, and the second target is $70, with a relatively tight stop around this breakout level. So you're looking at a 50-cent risk for upwards of $4 reward, almost $4 of reward. So definitely a good trade setup. Depending on your risk tolerance, you could have your risk again at this breakout level or at the low of today's candle. It really depends on how you want to play it. But there's a nice ascending trend line here. We're sitting right on top of the AEMA. I think this trade looks really nice. Let's look at cores. So if you remember yesterday, I looked at cores and I said we had a gravestone candle, which could be bearish, but we don't know until the rest of the pattern plays out. And as we saw, we had a nice bullish candle. So this candle really indicated indecision rather than bearish sentiment. So I think cores could hit its first target, maybe late this week, early next week, 68.91, and then a second target of 74.82. Based on the way this stock moves, it's moving kind of slowly. I do think it's feasible to still get in depending on your trading plan, but it's definitely an option if you didn't like the Duncan or the BABA trade. Lastly, looking at Tesla. As I said yesterday, I did not like the price action on that candle. We touched our target. Hopefully, if you were in this trade, you trimmed. Again, I'm not holding any Tesla. It trades a little too expensively for my liking and a little too volatilely. But we did hit our first price target, so hopefully you trimmed your position when you had the opportunity. It is following its ascending trend line still, so I'm not trying to predict doom and gloom that it's going to roll over or anything like that. But just be aware. We might move a little sideways before we continue on up. But there is some space here between that candle and the AEMA. So I think there's definitely some potential for some sideways movement after this down candle. I wouldn't expect a huge white candle tomorrow, but you never know. That pretty much concludes my analysis for tonight. If anyone has any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section. Have a good night, everyone.